All right, everybody, welcome to another exciting Blocksquare RWA AMA. I'm super excited to be here today. So hopefully everybody has had their time to use a restroom, get a snack, because we're going to have another exciting lightning AMA to get through today. We have some really great returning people and some new faces here. So I'm going to be loving to get into this. I would love to start off with some introductions from each of the projects. I would say go ahead and Propy. We're kind of familiar with you here, but if there are any new ears or eyes on your project, it would be great to get a high level overview or introduction of your project before we get started. If you want to kick things off for us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Hey, everyone. Erik LaPlagia, Chief Strategy Officer at Propy. If you don't know Propy, Propy is the only licensed title and escrow company that operates solely on blockchain. At this point, we've done a little over $4 billion in real estate transactions, making us far and away the leader in that space. We've got some exciting new announcements and partnerships on the cusp, and very happy to be here as part of this group.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, most definitely. I will say you guys have impressed the heck out of me, especially in the RW space here in the United States, because being here in the United States, you're limited. But you guys definitely have done some stuff to really have a great, transparent ecosystem that's in the hands of every possible person. So thank you. I appreciate you guys and the team in the background doing your guys' work and everything you can to be able to have Propy be accessible globally. So it's really awesome. Blocksquare, everybody knows about you, but I'd love for anybody here that doesn't know pretty much about what you guys are doing to give a small introduction. Denis, you want to lead off with that?
Thank you, Manuel, for hosting us again here on the space. Denis, I'm the CEO of Blocksquare. What we do is we provide the core infrastructure to migrate the value of individual real estate assets on chain, and as well a bunch of other things that we have developed on top of it to make this transfer of value as safe as possible. Really excited about the space here, Erik. Once again, having you as well on the panel, and Katie just met recently, first time live in London. So excited for this space, and I think we need to put Polytrade as a speaker as well. But thanks everyone for coming and taking the time for it.
Yeah, most definitely. It actually looks like we are having a small about technical issues with Polytrade coming up. I'm not sure if it's Twitter or what. So hopefully they get up here in just a second. And Katie also is having a small technical issue. They didn't hear the last two intros. They only heard me talk. So they're definitely going to have to reconnect and see if we can fix that. So once they are available, I'll have Katie or Polytrade go ahead. It's either Erik. Erik, are you there? Oh, Polytrade is up. Want to make sure. I think Katie had just requested. I can't get Katie to come up because Mike even co-hosting is having little issues. So the host will bring you up in just a second, Katie. But I'm glad you're able to reconnect. Polytrade, go ahead with the introduction. Looks like your mic is off, but I can't hear you either.
Hey guys, can you
Oh,
hear
there
me?
you are. Yeah, I can hear you. There you go.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. Did you want to go ahead and give us a little intro of
Yeah,
Polytrade?
I'm Shreya. I lead marketing for Polytrade, representing Polytrade in the spaces today. Really excited to speak in this one. About Polytrade, so we are building an RWA marketplace, which we love to call the OpenSea for RWAs. We've been in the space from 2 years now, and initially were a trade finance business in Web3, which we eventually pivot to being this RWA marketplace. Currently, we have almost 6,000 real world assets on the marketplace from almost 90 plus protocols in space. Blocksquare is a partner to us, Swarm is a partner to us. So we've seen that journey where we've just kind of aggregated all asset classes and all types of assets scattered in the space in this marketplace. So that's the long and short of what we are. Again, thank you so much for having us here.
Most thank you. I actually appreciate you being here. I always say that, we always get to thank you, as a moderator host, for having me on. But no, ultimately, thank you, because we wouldn't have a beautiful place to be able to host you guys if we didn't have great products like you guys building in the space and bringing new fintech to the world, and definitely bringing value across the board. So I definitely appreciate what you guys are doing, and thank you for being here. So with that being said, Katie, did you want to go ahead and jump on and give us an intro?
Yes, I did. Thank you so much for having me. And when I'm not dealing with technical difficulties on Twitter, which, trust you and me, it happens quite often, I work for Swarm. So for those of you who don't know who Swarm is, we focus on two things. Firstly, bringing well-known, well-understood assets like publicly listed stocks like Apple and Tesla, bond ETFs that are yielding around sort of 4 or 5%, and most recently gold, onto the blockchain, where we believe you can do more with your assets. Simple as that. Rather than just waiting for them to go up and down in price, you buy a tokenized version and you can do some all incredible things with those assets using DeFi. So that's the first thing we do. And then the second thing we do, which is more pertinent to today's conversation, is actually building trading infrastructure that supports the secondary liquidity of those assets. So I think what we've seen to date with tokenization platforms so far is a focus on issuance, and there's been a real need to solve that. But the next thing we're now focusing on is, right, so we've got these tokenized assets. What can we actually do with those? Yeah, and I'm here to talk today about sort of Swarm's approach to building those tools that allow people to trade autonomously on their own, or arrange trades by themselves without the need for intermediaries, but then also a little bit of a teaser into what we've got coming up, looking more sort of at lending and things like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into today's discussion, now that I can finally hear everybody.
Yeah, no, definitely glad that you were able to get that fixed really kind of quick. I mean, usually, Twitter can be a headache when it comes to the very first 5 to 10 minutes of every space. It's like it's a hamster, right? And you got to get it on the wheel. Once it's on the wheel and it's flowing, you're good for about an hour, give or take, depending on the size of the space. But it's like the first 10 minutes is just getting it on there. But no, definitely glad everybody has able to connect. And I realize everybody has sounded good and everything's good. And intros went really well. My name is Manuel Vazquez. I'll be the moderator for you guys today with Crypto Eagles. We are a full marketing agency, partner connections, obviously third-party services, but we do marketing across every platform. So if you are looking for any marketing, any type of extension out there or partnerships, growth, goals, we have access to all of them. But yeah, I will be your moderator today. We're going to be jumping into some really fascinating stuff. A lot of new news is coming out. Obviously, the market has been slightly moving, so it's just a great time to hear what the teams have been doing. And I love what Propy's been doing. So I want to kind of get my first question to go towards Propy. And I would definitely say they have been pioneering the NFT real estate in the United States. And I definitely would love to kind of deep dive on how do NFTs enhance the transparency and security of real estate transactions compared to traditional processes, and what future development can we expect? And then obviously, once we get kind of done with that, the biggest part of my question is I want to hear a little bit about your partnership with Coinbase, because I remember touching on your activities that you had, the marketing, the work that you've done with Coinbase in the past AMAs that we had here on Blocksquare. I kept touching on that, telling people if you want to engage, see what they're doing, jump on the Coinbase wallet. Probably had a whole campaign on there. So I was promoting that. I was like part of it myself, and all of my friends and family that are in crypto, I told about it and they enjoyed it. But now you're going and taking the next step forward and actually partnering with Coinbase. That's a huge, huge achievement overall. And I'd love for you to touch on a little bit of that too.
Well, thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, Propy really, I think that we saw the enormity of the opportunity around what was happening with title and escrow in the United States. For those of you who aren't very conversant, there are approximately a little over 3,000 different municipalities who govern title and escrow in the United States. If that number seems insanely large, it is. Many other developed countries have one singular point to manage registries and ownership for the entire country. So the idea that we have that large of a number in the US makes operational complexity just that much more. And so what we look to do is create the standard for what property ownership means in the United States. And the natural next step of that kind of primary question was, okay, let's put it on blockchain. So, like I said, at this point, Propy has done over 4 billion in real estate transactions, and they're all memorialized on blockchain. Now, the truth of the matter is, right now, just to be compliant in the U.S., we still have to register these as like a last mile with the actual municipality. But what we're pushing for in the US is to create the new standard of where we go with what is actually recorded, what is memorialized, and more importantly, like how this asset can be leveraged going forward. One of the other unfortunate truths in the US is with such an antiquated system, it is ripe for fraudulent activity. So it is very unfortunate to see, but it is all too common that on a daily basis you will see stories of nefarious players who have actually taken properties away from the rightful owners through false filings, through liens that were not justified, any number of mechanisms. And so all of that, once it standard is set on blockchain, could never possibly happen in the future. So we're not only doing what we do now, which is again by far the leader in the space, but more importantly, we're also working with municipalities, states, and the federal legislature to look at how we create ostensibly a property ownership bill of rights, where we will set the standard in the US for what that looks like. This is a long game. This is not something that will happen overnight, but we believe fundamentally that this is a change that needs to come. It's been far too long in this legacy fashion that we've done this. And so the opportunity for a change is there. And what we're doing is we continue to meet the market where it is. So, I mean, we stay the course with title and escrow. We're considered not only one of the leaders in the tech-driven space of that particular business, but more importantly, we're also one of the leaders in the traditional area of that space as well. So we work with all real estate agents, property owners, buyers and sellers. And if you look at our scores across any sort of Net Promoter or Google, Yelp, what have you, we service our clients at a high level, which is obviously vitally important for us. Now, you touched on the other thing, Coinbase. Coinbase has a little over 400 million users globally. And so we wanted to introduce something with them that would get property ownership and property rights to be a little bit more top of mind, because spoiler alert, not most people are thinking about like their residence as an asset. They think about it as the place that they live. But we really wanted to change the narrative of the conversation, making sure that people thought of this as A, something that they can protect, but B, potentially something that they can leverage down the road and actually stake, much like they would stake other digital assets. So we worked with Coinbase, and what we launched several months ago was a project called Propy Keys. And it's novel. What it allows people to do is actually go anywhere in the globe and mint their address. And so they can actually claim that digital ownership of their address. And that's the first layer. And so anyone can claim any address. So what we see a lot right now is users will not only claim their own address, they'll claim mom's address, grandma's address, and they'll create a little portfolio very quickly. But then from there, what there's a stage 2 and stage 3 to that ecosystem. And so from that novel first minting of the address, you can actually create a deed on chain where you can put your deed of ownership on chain and have it memorialized there. And that's actually been recognized in the US as proof of ownership at the what am I trying to say? The municipal level. It's actually been used to validate someone's ownership at this point. So the proof of concept is there. And then additionally, what you can do is you actually can go to that third level, which is creating an NFT out of your primary residence. And that we firmly believe is where the next step in property ownership ultimately will go. This allows for people to take their home and create a digital asset out of that. And ultimately, what we want to see is we want to see that be the gold standard of what ownership looks like in the United States and ultimately across the entire globe. To kind of be a testament to the amount of traction that we've gotten, we're just short of 300,000 addresses that have been minted thus far on Coinbase in the wallet. And that represents just about 200,000 unique wallets. So we're really heartened by the amount of traction, and we think the sky's the limit from here.
Right there is kind of proof in the pudding of what you were just saying, how you want to get to the point where you're recognized as that place instead of having all these municipalities, and now you're being recognized by these municipalities as, they have an unmutable technology there. We can't argue against that information, and so I think that right there is a huge just win from the very beginning right there. And to the testament of those users, and what I was speaking of, I'm one of those users. My address where I live now and my mother's address where she lives, that she's been living for almost 50 years or whatever, is on the blockchain with the NFT. We paid this, it was like $60 something to get it all deified for her. Mine, I don't own the house that I live in, but so I didn't do that for mine, but for hers I did, and all that. And I showed her the experience. She's very not tech wise, smartphone still kind of, it's almost like, the DVD from the VHS upgrade era for her. But, showing her the steps and showing her what it did, and then having it saying, hey, even if the house burnt down or your records were lost, or for some reason they got deleted at some digital level from the municipalities, now I have a confirmation that your deed is forever protected on the blockchain. So that right there is just a huge win that I didn't even really recognize until just now. So hands down, that's awesome. And I appreciate the work you guys are doing in the background, and what your partnership with Coinbase and the future holds for Propy is going to be very bright. Especially, we all know real estate doesn't go anywhere. Right now, we're at a point where we're kind of short on real estate. We need more houses built. So as more houses and more buildings continually getting built, more communities grow, you guys are just going to constantly grow. So that's going to be a win overall. So I appreciate it, and that's awesome news, man. It's really cool. So with that being said, I'm going to jump over to a Blocksquare, my favorite platform for understanding RWAs. I've been a huge fan of what you guys have been doing from the very beginning, but with 12 different marketplace operation utilizing your infrastructure, how do you ensure consistent levels of transparency and security across the different platforms on your marketplace? Which it's kind of a professional question, but it's something that I think that a lot of people need to kind of understand the level that you guys do in the background, bringing these value, and then how you guys chose and be able to keep that security level and consistent with these different markets that are going on, especially it's the volatile market for sure. But you guys have definitely been impressing me since the very beginning.
Thanks, Manuel, for the question. It's actually, it's 12 marketplace operators. Maybe it's 13 already, or 14. So we're slowly kind of adding, I think, 1 or 2 per month now with the launchpad that we have, and that kind of really democratizes access to our infrastructure for any real estate company to start bringing the value of real estate assets on chain. But as you mentioned, is kind of really, really important to make that in a transparent and kind of secure way. And here, what we've kind of, the core part of what we've built is this tokenization protocol, where we basically are able to give access to a lumpy kind of big asset type to anyone with an internet connection. Essentially, what we have achieved is standardize the process of transferring on-chain something we call economic rights. So if, previously Propy was discussing about tokenizing, with NFTs, the title of a single real estate asset, that means, you are tokenizing the whole bundle of rights. When you own real estate, you own the right to use it, the right to resell it, to lease it out, to maybe change it, whether that's, from the inside or the outside, depending on the real estate type, or to build on top of, land, a specific type of real estate. And that bundle of rights can, in essence, be dissected, and, the owner of the bundle of rights can actually decide to basically transfer just a portion of it. Like the most usual way of doing this that doesn't really include blockchain is lease contracts. You get a tenant, and basically you're transferring your right to use it to somebody else. Now, in the same way, you can transfer economic rights from yourself onto token holders. And this is what we have achieved in a very kind of standardized way. Now, to really protect the end users on top of this, we have managed to even notarize and enter into the European Land Registry of, in one country so far, the ability to, well, essentially securing the tokens directly with the title. Just like, banks secure their mortgages with the lien on the title. Here, the process is practically the same. However, the kind of ultimate beneficiary of this security is the token holder. So the mortgage is the token holder. And this is something that now this year we have really kind of been investing quite a lot in Europe with the partnership with CMS Law, which is one of the largest law and tax firms in the region. And the amazing thing that we have achieved is that the tokenization process, how we have kind of implemented this protocol, in the end, the tokens that come out of it under MiCA regulation, or under European regulation, they fall under MiCA regulation, under crypto assets. Previously, before MiCA, this was always kind of a gray area where they didn't know where to put this. And a lot of times they were stating this falls under MiFID II, which is a regulation for securities and debt instruments in Europe. And the implications of this research that we have conducted, and we are now in the process of commercializing the whole thing, is that these tokens can really live in DeFi, potentially. There's AML regulation, of course, but you can basically create novel ways of how people can own real estate assets and how they can interact with those tokenized fractions across DeFi. And this is something when you're tokenizing existing securities, it's not really possible because you have a lot of limitations how this should be held through custodians and not in self-custody as kind of the Web3 narrative is. And this means that there's a lot of things that can happen on top of this protocol. Now,
most definitely.
Just wanted to add here another thing. Sorry, Manuel, but
no, you're good.
When you are tokenizing a real estate asset, a lot of times you think, what is the underlying, and a general person, engaging in Web3 and so forth, will not have maybe the expertise required to understand exactly how the asset in the back is structured. And this is where we developed something called Tokalytics that is really, really a useful analytics tool and checks into various parts of the underlying asset, from the ownership structure to the tenancy structure, to the structure of potentially any debt that is on the asset, to the market itself, where it's located, the type of asset. So it utilizes all this data and creates 100 or so data points that are then presented in a human readable way to anyone who wants to invest in tokenized real estate. And it creates, again, a standardized document, just like, when you are engaging in investing in DeFi, you want to have a security audit of the smart contract that have been developed, right? And this has become an industry standard. And here we want to achieve what we're trying to achieve, that with tokenizing real world assets, especially real estate, where there's a big diversity of assets around us, this will be standardized through reports like Tokalytics that can be updated as the lease contracts update, as the markets update, and so forth. And so it's a reference point that kind of really easily outlines to the end user, what they're investing in, and keeping them basically safe and informed is the ultimate goal.
That's awesome. No, definitely. And I think that's taking what we've all talked about over the years, to a new level, right? Is educating your user base with your ecosystem and the value that can come from it, right? Obviously, everything is not financial advice and do your own research, but we're giving you the research that you need at your hands, and fast, efficient, and so that you can make concise decisions. And ultimately, we all know in blockchain, speed is everything, and in real estate, knowledge is everything. Knowing the asset, understanding the asset you're getting into. So having the token analytics set up like that, I think, is a win for your users and the users coming in to try to understand the platform and find their position within, your ecosystem and what you guys are producing out of it. Like you said, 12 operators have come out and are utilizing, but there's many more to come. And you guys are vetting, like you said, 1, 2, 3 a month, which is awesome. I think that's a huge win for the ecosystem. You're not oversaturating, but you're making sure that the value that are being brought to your platform and the users, and are at least apparent, right? And you guys are all working towards that same common goal. So I think that's a huge win. So I appreciate Dennis. You guys, like I said, I love hosting these AMAs, and hands down, I love your platform and been a fan of it for it's been eight months now or so, 9 months. It's been a long time. You guys have been out, pushing the boundaries for a while, and so really do appreciate the hard work. So, all right, moving over to my next question. This one is a little bit something that I wanted to understand more, and that is Polytrade. I love what you guys are doing. You guys have definitely been exploding, and the value that you guys are bringing to the RW space is huge. I know you coined yourself as like trying to be the open sea, and I think that's limiting yourself to your own branding and your own exposure, because RWA is not only for crypto, but it's also to touch the hearts of people in the real world, understand the value to start utilizing blockchain. So I'd rather, coin you guys as the Amazon, right? We want everybody globally to have a synonymous name with Polytrade. And so you guys are definitely going to be the Amazon of RWAs. I mean, like you said, offering over 5,000 listed assets and 60,000 registered users on your platform is huge. So how do you manage the due diligence and maintain trust at such scale, especially with a diverse partner network? And how do you ensure KYC data is actually safely stored on your platform? I know that's a hot topic for a lot of people because of how crypto, it used to be very anonymous and all that. But we all know that if you really want to extend to the RW platforms and really bring the value, there are some regulation due diligence that both sides have to do. So just would love to kind of get your thoughts on that and share your guys' success story so far.
I love how you said, we kind of shouldn't limit ourselves to just being OpenSea, and that's why we had coined both the terms together. So for Web2, we really have to call ourselves Amazon for RWAs, and for Web3, it's OpenSea for RWAs. And I'm so glad that someone else also realized it at the same time. So yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I think what you just asked is a very complex task, given that we kind of are on our way to become like the biggest aggregator for RWAs there is. Also, with such a heavy user base, it is actually a very complex task. So, um, where dealing with due diligence is concerned, we kind of keep it very critical to ensure there's authenticity and legitimacy of the assets. So I think first thing we kind of put a lot of effort into is asset verification. We not just the KYC bit of things and the user side of the things, data for us, and the authenticity of this data is a key factor, playing in and making the RWA marketplace the way it is. So we kind of go through a rigorous verification process for each and every asset that you see listed on the Polytrade marketplace. We ensure that whatever we're listing is kind of authentic in nature, and we're giving the end user the exact information. So this includes a lot of legal compliance checks and assessments related to asset valuation, and we also undergo a check of validation of ownership for these assets. Then second is extending the due diligence part of it. So our partner network is huge. We've almost have 90 plus RWAs from where we're sourcing these RWAs to the end user as well. So we kind of do a very rigorous due diligence on our partner base as well, and this kind of involves reviewing their financials, market credibility, compliance statuses, and any history of legal or financial disputes also. And this is why I think we kind of are proud in boasting the fact that we literally partners with every credible RWA protocol there is: Centrifuge, Maple, Clearpool, Swarm here. We're so glad that Blocksquare is also a partner. So all leading names. We've only been able to go here so far in terms of generating that trust from the market and from the end user as well, only because we were able to shake hands with such industry leaders in the space. And now coming to the user side of things, so we kind of want to ensure there is absolute transparency when it comes to transactions. So the marketplace is built in such way that the user is protected, everything else is trackable. There are no chances of any problems that might come in terms of just being able to interact with an RWA on chain and being able to buy it. And we're more than glad to also have again partners who have their credibility already in the market. I think a lot of people don't know how Polytrade works is in the KYC side of things. We've really wanted to solve the KYC hurdle for the user. So what we've done is, for assets which don't really require KYC, we've kept it that way. We're not really forcing user to share their data if they're not comfortable. All they need is a wallet address to be able to interact with the marketplace. That's it. But of course, for assets that come under regulation and for sure require a KYC, for most protocols and their assets, we leave it to them, for them to kind of be the endpoint for user to submit the data, and we let the protocol handle it. So if there are any changes, if there anything else that they need, so we kind of become like a mediator in between. But we really don't want to get into privacy of the user. If that's how it works, we kind of really want to change it, because as a user, I know myself, the KYC procedure of RWs really sucks sometimes. So I think it is better to find a solution, and I think most people advocate of finding a solution as well. So yeah, that's like basically how we do things.
No, that's awesome. No, that definitely, I will definitely encourage anybody here that is interested and to understand much more about the RW space, and the value that to jump in. I mean, obviously, the reception from the current community is huge. Having that, like you're saying, that hectic amount of users is crazy. But I bet the analytics is great. You guys are understanding your platform, and being able to have that many people on your platform and not crash. Is definitely a huge win for your team. So kudos to everything you guys have been doing. And, I definitely appreciate all the work that you guys are doing in the RW space, because I've been hounding this for a while now. I think that what's going to hold us from having such a drastic bear market overall, when the markets do decide to shift, is the RW space holding up that continuous growing market. Because, even in real estate never really goes much lower than its previous high, kind of like Bitcoin, right? It has that sustainable aspect. And when it goes back up to its all-time high, it's really high, right? So I think that as we continue to grow and scale, real estate always continues goes up in value, which then in turn is going to hold up the market. So I really appreciate everybody that is really focusing on the RW space and taking it serious and showing value and opportunity for users to come in and be educated on that side of the ecosystem. I think that the blockchain is definitely benefiting from the RW space, and like I've constantly said, it's much more than a trending word. It's a foundational infrastructure that is continually scaling and growing. So I appreciate all that work. Now moving over to Katie over here at Swarm. Swarm's facilities decentralized trading and tokenization of real world assets like stocks and bonds, like you were saying earlier in the intro. But your approach to decentralize enhancing both the transparency and security, I think, is important. How do you guys manage the balance between traditional finance structures like those bonds, those stocks, with the blockchain technology to ensure user protection, but also still be transparent and regulatory to those Web2 users that are kind of there, and you want to bring them over to your guys' platform through your guys' technology?
Yeah, I would say we're more of a DeFi focused platform at this moment in time. I mean, if you look at any vertical, any trend, it's always started off sort of deep inherent within the crypto community before it then spreads out. So we are very much a hybrid, and that's even reflected in the sort of setup of the makeup of the team, in the sense that we all come from sort of traditional financial backgrounds, but then we also have these tech elements to what we've done in the past as well. And Swarm is kind of a marriage of those two things, taking the best from TradFi, i.e., deep liquidity, virtually unlimited liquidity, certainly in the assets that we're dealing with. So, publicly listed stocks, bonds, and now gold, and marrying that with the flexibility that blockchain or DeFi offers. So everything we do looks at those two pieces and figures out, okay, how can we create a better experience, or activate those assets in a better way, so that either more people can come into that system, or can generate wealth off the assets they're already plugged into. So I'm going to tackle this question from two sides, because the way we sort of marry those two elements, both the sort of the blockchain technology and the TradFi assets or trading infrastructure, can be talked about from both an issuance and a secondary trading perspective. So I'll start with issuance. So our assets are backed 1-for-1. So we go out and buy those assets in traditional markets. They're held in institutional custody, so with a bank in Germany, and then we mint tokens on the other side. We actually use existing regulation in order to offer those assets to retail. So we have a prospectus that is an ESMA-based prospectus that's filed in Liechtenstein that allows us to directly sell these assets to retail investors, and that provides a certain amount of almost like disclosures so that people know exactly what it is they're trading. We've also built the process in a way that makes it insolvency proof. So everything that Swarm does, whether that's attributing data to a token to let people know what they're investing in, from even hold the legal ownership of that token, is all designed so that if Swarm Markets was to go out of business tomorrow, anyone holding those tokens has a claim on the underlying collateral. And we think that's really important because, DeFi is all about a sense of ownership, it's control, it's autonomy. You shouldn't be relying on third parties to make decisions on your behalf about, what backs the asset that you're holding. You should be able to see in a verifiable way on chain what it is you're actually holding. So that's on the issuance side, how we're marrying up those two worlds in order to protect investors. On the second sort of point, which is around trading and building out this trading infrastructure, we started off life building AMM pools, but we found that actually specifically for tokenized real world assets, the world isn't quite ready for those, simply because the capital doesn't exist on chain yet. And you need to seed those pools with a large amount of capital in order to avoid slippage. And we just found that trading experience wasn't up to scratch yet. So we've actually come up with our own sort of proprietary tech, which we've built and actually gifted as a public good service to the DeFi community, and it's called DOTC, which stands for Decentralized Over-the-Counter Trading. Now, if you look at trading ecosystems in TradFi markets, 90% of sort of trading, it does vary from asset to asset, but you're looking at a predominant amount of trading is traded OTC rather than on sort of lit venues. And we've tried to take that process and replicate it on chain, almost create like almost like a digital twin type version. And the idea is that it's smart contract based. It enables atomic swaps for any asset that lives on that chain. It doesn't actually have to just be RWAs. It could be any asset. And the platform's currently on Ethereum, Polygon, and Base. And it allows you to do these this large block trading, but it completely removes slippage. You get to define what the price is yourself, whether it's for an asset that doesn't have huge amounts of liquidity on chain, or you can use dynamic price feeds. Sorry, you can use pricing oracles for that dynamic pricing element, and you can just trade at whatever the market is trading at that time. So we believe that system offers security in three key ways. First of all of our tech is audited, so you benefit from the security of knowing that a third party has come in and scrutinized those smart contracts. Secondly, we're removing counterparty risk because trades are entirely collateralized. So you don't have to worry about whether someone says they have the assets they say they do, because the swap doesn't happen unless both sides of the trade are fulfilled. The smart contract acts as like an escrow account there. Enhancing on that counterparty risk element as well, we're also introducing different levels of KYC, where people get to choose the level of KYC they need based on who they are in the market and who they want to trade with. And then the third thing is we're reducing that price risk as well because of this ability to remove slippage. So there's a few different ways here where we think this platform is kind of offering a more superior way of being able to trade these assets, certainly in a low liquid or a liquidity build stage, but very much removes intermediaries and enables people to do those swaps that would otherwise rely on costly intermediaries, or or having the relationship with those intermediaries to begin with.
Yeah, no, definitely way above my knowledge grade, but I definitely would trust you on that and understanding that, because you guys are big players in the space. But I will say that time will come as more infrastructure, more deep in infrastructure starts happening. I think that over time, there's going to be some surprising value coming out of the RW space that no one realized. And it just takes players like you guys constantly building and growing and scaling and seeing, just like Propy, just like you, just like Polytrade, seeing those niches that needed to be taken care of and then going hands deep into it and figuring it out. I think that right there is what has brought you guys so much success so far and will continually bring you guys success in the future, because of the hard work and that value that you bring to something that's missing in the space, or that you see in the future, just like Blocksquare did with RWAs before it was even coined. RWA as a term, they were doing it in the background. They saw the value, and when they came out, it was a huge win for them, because people saw that they've been building, they've been growing, they've been scaling, and it's the future, right? And so you guys are definitely at that point where you guys are all maturing and scaling that future of what you guys all seen probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago, coming to the blockchain. And so it's just really exciting to see the growth and what you guys have been able to produce. But then also see you guys' plans. I talked to that a lot with a lot of teams. What are you guys' future plans? What do you guys see? Not what you guys are doing right now and actually building, but what do you see a year from now, and how you inception, the blockchain, or the value you bring to your ecosystem. And you guys are all giving great answers on what you see the future and how you guys are helping build that out. And so far, it's been a win, for you guys up to this point. So I just see a bunch of success across the board. So I really do appreciate all your guys' answers to all my questions today. I have another one, a last one. I'll love to wrap up my questioning. And this is for any of you guys. Any of you guys can answer this question, jump in. We could either do it structured where I go one by one, but I always love it to leave it kind of open and podcasty. And if you feel real genuine about, the question, it hits to you and you want to bring value, I always love for you just to jump in and give your piece on it. But the question is, from your experience, what are the biggest challenges in maintaining transparency and security? I know, I've been talking about it a lot, but I think that with the RW space and with the future of retail and blockchain itself and regulatory stance, that it's obviously going to be the main point is transparency and security, but also how the future trust in the RWA marketplace, and how do you envision blockchain technology and regulation evolving to address these challenges, especially as we get more and more popular globally?
Sure, I'll jump in. I think it's who you work with. It's all about trusted partners in the space because let's be real, all of us here on this stage are relatively newer or underfunded by comparison of the global giants who have historically operated in this space. So like I loved the fact that Katie talked about the fact that they're working with a German bank to domicile the assets that they're buying on the front end and then tokenizing on the back end. That's the sort of stuff that is going to allow people to feel more comfortable on utilizing these platforms. That's one of the reasons I touched on in when we first chatted on this space about our relationship with Coinbase. We wanted to go with the kind of recognized leader in at least the US and certainly one of the recognized leaders globally. And to that end, we actually have, I so want to like spoiler alert and sneak this announcement, but I just can't. But we're launching a new product with Coinbase on Thursday. And so we're doing a spaces on Thursday and Friday. So check Propy's social because this is going to be massive. And it's exactly what I'm touching upon. It's a historically kind of tried and true mechanism of real estate and the RWA space, but we're bringing a new spin on it and we're making it crypto friendly in a way that it's quite frankly not been up until this point. And so I think these little next like evolutions are vitally important because when you get these moments of paradigm shifts like this, like our product will do, and sounds like some of the other players on this stage, what those moments create is you create momentum. And sooner or later, to your point, Manuel, in a year from now, you'll look back and say, hey, things truly did change. And we as entrepreneurs, I think we dramatically overestimate what we can get done in a day, and we dramatically underestimate what we can get done in a year or 5 years. So this is one of those inflection points. When I look back, I firmly believe we'll say, hey, that was kind of the linchpin or the catalyst moment where things really did start to shift. And for us in the US, like the market that we primarily operate in right now, there's 50 trillion in real estate in this market and there's 25 trillion of that approximately that's owner occupied. And so the enormity of the opportunity is there. It's just making sure that we're good stewards and that people feel kind of the ease and the security that we're the right players. And I could not more firmly be of the idea that at least for Propy, I can say we're the right player at the right time. We're licensed. And I love the fact that we're disrupting from within because sometimes that's where you need to start the conversation. And so I really appreciate the spaces. I really, really like what the other three folks who shared are building. And the best is yet to come.
100% agree, and I definitely agree when you touch on what Katie said. I think the hybrid model of blockchain with the regular Web2 financials is going to be leading to that, safety and security that people already are used to. They're the norm for them, and then eventually, we'll have that standard regulatory and protection done across the platform itself without the need for that hybrid model. But yeah, anybody else want to touch on that question that I had?
I actually can't hear anybody else, so I hope that what I say doesn't overlap too much or
You're
disjoint the
good.
conversation. But one thing in response to that answer, the question around sort of how do you maintain transparency and build that future trust, there's definitely a movement now more so than ever around this need for verifiable data on chain and having transparency over what it is people are actually buying. And I think operators in the space need to do their utmost to ensure that those concerns are addressed. It's not good. It's simply good enough saying to people, "Oh yeah, your assets are safe," and interrogate information as is their right if they're going to be buying something or at least investing large amounts in this, we have something called KYA, so know your asset, which is, a series of metadata that's held on a decentralized server so that people can go in and verify themselves exactly what it is they're buying. And I think we're also seeing this with proof of reserves. It started obviously in the wake of Celsius going under, and I think it's moving more now to a point where it's not just good enough to have just a report issued monthly or even weekly. We want to get to a point where people can actually trigger a button or press a button that triggers some sort of process that enables them to see if the assets are held in custody that is backing the token that they're holding. That's certainly something we're working towards as a company. There's slight limitations sort of from a Web 2 perspective on that, but it's not stopping us from still trying to push that forward. But combined with that level of transparency is always the need for privacy. And I'm sure everyone on this panel can attest to the fact that, yes, we do want transparency in some capacity, but we also, if we're going to be pushing through large volumes of these things or, high value items like real estate, like gold or whatever it might be, people don't want to be revealing what's in their wallet. So I think certainly for us, the next thing we're turning our attention to is how do we balance transparency with the need for privacy?
Yeah, no, it's definitely that mixture. I think that's kind of a pain that we all live in the real world as it is. You want to be secure, but you want to be private. And the more secure, the less private. The more private, the less secure. So it's like you got to make sure you have that equal balance, find that good middle that everybody can have consensus-ish on, and then you guys can then move forward and then build out from there. I think that's definitely important. And obviously everybody here has taken that extremely serious because you guys wouldn't have been able to operate at the levels you guys are if you guys aren't having that same concern about being transparent for the users and the governments you guys work in, but also secure to keep those governments wanting to allow you to operate while still having the user base wanting to operate. So it's definitely a mix you guys go through, and I know it's a pain, but you guys are doing very well in the ecosystem for sure. Now we are getting close to the top of the hour. I want to move over to closing statements, kind of just get a little outro from each and every one of you guys, because there's you guys huge amounts of value you guys got going on, and I want to make sure that we close out with giving you guys an opportunity to say if there's any last minute activities or achievements or anything that you guys are about to be launching, any events, anything you want to say to the community before we close things out. This will be the time. If not, just go ahead and give us a good closing statement. You want to go ahead and start with us, Propy?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I already teased Coinbase, so look out for Thursday because it's a massive announcement in the space. I will also say if you happen to be in the Miami area, you can DM me. We are doing our 4th annual Propy Summit on the 7th and 8th of November. Some of the speakers we already have signed up is Senator Cynthia Lummis, who's obviously one of the leaders in leadership in the U.S. government around digital assets. Anthony Scaramucci, John Nigerian, John D'Agostino from Coinbase. It's a really stacked lineup. So if you're in Miami, DM me. I know we're pretty much at capacity, but maybe I can see if there is a way we can get you in. So yeah, excited about what's coming up.
And just pop a window open and just have them looking in. Nah, there you go. We're at capacity, but you can still see what's going on. No.
Hey, I've hosted enough events, man. Sometimes the fire marshal coming in is not a bad thing.
No, it's definitely not a bad thing. It's a great thing. It just shows that everybody loves what you're doing, right? And so, no, it's definitely awesome. And yeah, if you guys are in that area, please don't fail to at least touch bases with them. See people in real life, see what they're doing. You never know what kind of opportunity you can develop from there on. So, no, that's very awesome. Denis, did you want to give us closing statements for Blocksquare?
I wanted to, first of all, thanks everyone who participated, Erik, Katie, and Polytrade, everyone. Thanks for coming to our space and everyone in the audience as well. I hope we brought you really interesting people building in the RW space. There's some collaborations that are in the making in the back, and we hope that soon we can announce them with some of the partners that you see here. We've already announced the collaboration with Polytrade, and we're really excited that we can bring what they have built to our ecosystem of marketplace operators. And that's it. Watch out for any X spaces that we're going to organize in the future, and I hope that you stay safe in Web3 as well. Not your keys, not your funds is something to watch out. And self custody is powerful, but it's a lot of responsibility as well. And yeah, thank you very much.
I definitely agree with that. And don't let Denis over there at Blocksquare be so humble. You guys make sure you're turning on the notifications. These guys are constantly cooking up stuff. They're working, they're bringing huge value, and they're really highlighting what you can find in the RWA space. So please, at least take the time to turn on the notifications on Twitter so you're up to date. They're constantly tweeting, and you will then be notified of our next space that I definitely love hosting. And I appreciate you guys for having the opportunity for us to be able to have this and bring teams on and talk about the value of the ecosystem that's constantly growing and that you're facilitating that growth. So with that being said, Polytrade, did you want to give us a closing statement? Are you there, Polytrade?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think I'm
okay.
email.
Just double checking because I know we're getting close to that hour and Elon's getting ready to click that button on us.
Yeah, I know, man. Every space I go to, I just pray it doesn't happen. It's my 5 minute prior to the space. Make sure that doesn't happen, doesn't happen. Anyway, yeah, I think the space was really smooth. All of the contributors and speakers here provided some lovely insights. I think we're shaping the space together, and that's the beauty about the space. I really love how interconnected and close-knit we are as a space. And it's always exciting. I mean, there's not one day since I've been in RWAs that, I feel we could have been somewhere else. It just kind of fits perfectly. All of the speakers here and, the protocols, they've really figured out, where we're heading as an industry. And then that's really beautiful to see. And then super, super glad to be here, and I would like to extend a heartfelt thanks to Block Square for organizing this, and we're really excited about our partnership as well. You guys are a market leader for real estate at least, and I think our community at least we've realized that the most traction comes for assets that belong to the real estate space. And I think it's one of the most fast maturing asset classes that we've been seeing as an aggregator also. So kudos on that. And yeah, I'm super pumped up for the time to come, and where we grow as a space, and individually as protocols also. Say all the best for everybody who's building here. um let's see where we go. Thanks again.
No, thank you. No, I appreciate you guys, and I can't wait to see what comes with your guys' partnership. It's going to be great. And so, Katie, you're the last one to do an outro or last minute statement for your project. Anything you want to say? Anything, activities or any type of milestones you guys have been achieved lately? Anything you want to say to the community before we close things out today? Oh, we might be having an issue. I just saw with Katie. 1 second.
Hopefully, I'm not talking over anyone, but I can't hear anything. So I'm just going to do my little closing remark, just to let everyone be aware who doesn't know already. We've been developing our gold product pretty steadfastly over the past few months since first launching in June of this year. And we're really pleased to let people know that we're actually the first to have inscribed gold on the Bitcoin network. So we're bringing real world gold onto the original network, which is Bitcoin. So that was a really good, really exciting development for us as a company. And then really what we're looking at now is more ways in which people can sort of activate their assets. So it's not just about simply holding Tesla on chain. It's like, well, what can I do with that? Can I lend against it? Can I earn yield on it? Can I yield farm towards it? You know, all of this kind of stuff. So we're actively working with lenders in the lending platforms in the space, looking at how we can plug into that so that people can essentially do more with their assets. And I think it's really important that DeFi has access to different types of collateral that is uncorrelated with what exists today, i.e., crypto. You know, we've seen it in the past, people get burnt with, Bitcoin sort of starts crashing and then everything else tends to follow. They say when Bitcoin sneezes, everything else catches a cold. So we're really keen on integrating or having our assets integrated into other DeFi protocols and consumer apps that are uncorrelated to the sort of status quo that we've enjoyed so far, so that people can start taking advantage of a multi-asset universe that lives on chain. So go and check it out. For anyone who's on this call, go to swarm.com to have a look at our website, or app.swarm.com if you want to start buying and owning these tokenized assets today. And yeah, the platform there, it exists for people to go and kick the tires and learn more about what it means to hold tokenized assets. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate that. That was awesome. And yes, no, everybody, please take the time to follow all the keynote speakers here and follow the host, turn all the notifications off, be up to date. And like Propy said, Thursday's coming. They gave us a little bit of pre-alpha, so now you guys are knowing what's going on a little bit behind the scenes. You guys better be paying attention to Thursday for that space to see what they're talking about and see what opportunity you guys can have within the RW real estate, and go check out all of them and see where you stand in their ecosystem. You never know what kind of opportunity value. I appreciate the time. Thank you again, Denis and Blocksquare, for your guys' opportunity, for allowing me to come here, host, and talk with you guys. It's always awesome. I love it. I love the professional teams that are always coming on and the value you guys bring in the opportunity. So like I said, my name is Manuel Vazquez from Crypto Eagles. If you guys need any marketing support, go ahead and connect with us. We're partnered with all the major sexes and have calls at our hand, and we would love to assist you and support any projects that are looking to continually grow and scale, especially anybody coming from the Blocksquare ecosystem. We're proud to be partners and hosting these spaces and just bringing value over to the ecosystem. So thank you again. I appreciate it. And until next time, guys, everybody do your own research, not financial advice, but please stay safe in the space. All right, guys, talk to you later. Bye-bye.